In this tutorial, we're going to be talking about the date and time component, and we're also going to review our world time scene and how to change the different clocks that we have built onto the system. So let's begin. So let's go ahead and switch on to our campaign and go ahead and switch to our toolbox and components. And notice that right here we have our clock component. And just like any other component, we can simply take that and drag and drop it onto a channel. Now that we have our clock component on the channel, we'll go ahead and click on this pencil icon to edit the player. And we can see right here that we have just a default clock showing, and go ahead and switch to the clock properties. And some of the properties that you can change are, of course, the font and the color. Something that's pretty cool is these radio buttons right here. So you can set just the date, you can set the time, you can set the time and the date. You can also do a custom field. And before we talk about the custom, let's go ahead and just change the fonts a little bit, make it a little bit larger and darker so we can see better our selection. So now let's go ahead and switch over here to custom. And notice that now we have this format that we can modify and really build our own custom date and time field. So for example, if we didn't want to show the year at all, we can just delete these Y's right here that stands for year and press enter, and now we don't have the year. And if you wanted to take this just text right here that says @ we can again delete that and press enter, and again modify the date and the time. And then if you wanted to change something completely different, for example, over here under the days and week we have 4 E's. If let's say we go ahead and change this to just 2 E's and press enter, now we have an 05 instead of Friday. If you put just a single E, we have just 5 without the 0. So again, you can just review these parameters right here and build your own custom format for the date and the time. And of course, just like most of our other components, you can put this right into a scene. So let's go ahead to navigation and enable the editors. Just go ahead and add a brand new scene, this new scene right here, and drag and drop our clock component, which again represent the date and time. And you can again modify the same properties just as before. Now, one last thing I wanted to show you is that we also have graphical Swift clocks that are embedded onto the system, and you can take advantage of these as well. So let's go ahead and review this. Go ahead and click on the import scene right here. And under this import scene, we're going to go ahead and switch to clocks. And we have a whole bunch of different clocks that we can use. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to import this world time scene. So I'll click on that and press OK to import it. I'll go ahead and click on File Save to save my configuration. And if I select any of these 3 Swift components, for example, if I select the first one and then go to its properties, you'll see that I have 2 different options I can set. The type, if I change the type, we can actually switch to a different clock type, and there's 21 different clock types. So if I go number 2, you can see we have this format, and number 3, 4, 5, and so on. So there's a whole bunch of different clocks that you can choose from. And of course, we can also set the offset for the time zone. So if you put, for example, -7, you can set this same offset to all the different clocks that are available within this component. So again, this is pretty cool because you can again pick different clocks as well as change the offset, the time, so you can have different world time displaying here. Now, if you didn't want to use our world time and just wanted to create your own scene, you can do that. Simply import any one of our clock scenes right onto your own studio, and once you do that, you'll just go ahead and create a brand new scene. So go ahead and click on the plus sign right here. And notice that we have this clock swift right here under our resources. And this clock swift got created once you imported that world time scene. So we automatically got that swift right here under our resources. So again, go ahead and drag and drop this clock scene. And you see that it by default shows us the default clock, which is going to be type 0. And of course, just like before, we can select a different type or set a different offset. So again, remember that once you import any one of our clock scenes, you will have this clock.swift under your resources. And then you can create a new scene and simply drag and drop as many clocks as you want into that brand new scene. And of course, just like anything else in our system, you can switch back to campaigns. And you also can go to the toolbox, go to the resources, take the clock swift and put it directly on the timeline, so it doesn't have to exist within a scene if you don't want to. So now we have this clock swift directly positioned on the particular channel. Double click on it to load up the properties. And just like before, switch to the swift properties, and you can set again the type and the offset. So this particular swift, like any other swift in our system, can be used within the editors within a scene or directly on the channel.